Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2024 Online Holiday Retail Threat Roundup. Before AI's last webinar of the year, happy holidays to everyone, whichever holiday you happen to celebrate. We have with us today Abu Qureshi, Threat Intelligence and Disruption Lead, and Rishika Desai, threat researchers at both of them from Before AI. We're going to talk about what's going on in holiday retail. We hope that you'll join in with us and bring your questions at the end if you have them. So I'm going to kick it off to Abu to get things started, and we're looking forward to this great session on retail threats.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy. so, um, as we follow up from our last webinar, which was and report, which was focused on um, retail behavior, we shift to the holiday season, given the timing. And what we've seen is as the holiday season shifted now from the retailer ramp up, which was more focused on the retailer's activity and the threat profile of the retailer itself. Now we move on to a more consumer and buyer focused behavior from the criminals. And we see the notable changes in the methods that are used. So we definitely saw a pivot in the tactics. Again, more focused on the consumer and the customer, and definitely less focused on the brands. And one major tactic we saw was the exploitation of infrequent shoppers. So targeting the demographic that is less familiar with e-commerce. With the holiday season, you have a lot of shoppers coming on to shop that typically are not familiar with e-commerce. So they become a really good target for cyber criminals. They're less likely to identify phishing attempts, and they are maybe have less cyber hygiene for understanding indicators of fraudulent behavior. And then another strong tactic is the trust in familiar brands. So the impersonation of well-known brands is a much higher volume we notice than your smaller brands. Um, like as a shopper, you assume legitimacy in a brand that you trust and a brand that you frequently shop with, and that is something that the cyber criminals like to take advantage of. And lastly, a stronger sense of urgency. This was there in our last reported webinar as well, but we see it ramped up now, more because it's the holidays, and with phishing attempts and with malicious behavior across the board, there is a strong sense of urgency here on the social engineering aspect of using the human psychology to trick us into thinking, I must take action here. I must take advantage of the sale. We see a lot of words like the sale ends tonight. So it encourages a rush to grab the deal without thinking rationally and ignoring indicators that you may normally catch outside the holiday season. We have examples of this behavior in the report. If you in the report itself, there's a sense of urgency created for free Tesla focused scam. So it's constant throughout the report where these behavioral changes are captured. And with that, I will move along to Rishika to talk about some threat trends.
Yeah, thank you, Abu. That was a great explanation. So yeah, now that we talk about the holiday retail trends, these were the three top trending things that we saw happening when we investigated a set of phishing domains. First was about giveaway and coupon scams. And interestingly, instead of typo squatting, this was the period when we saw that the keywords such as giveaway or gift cards were directly used with a brand name. For example, just to name something, we saw, let's say, giveaway dash Walmart coupon cards. So instead of typo squatting, this time we saw like keywords being directly used with the brand name, and that worked for some reason because it's the holiday season, and so a lot of domains in the similar pattern were created. So there were fake giveaways, and that were also using different top level domains to again inspire the sense of urgency, such as dot click, there was dot today, or that there was dot sale. So all of these somehow prompt the user, or uh, their their sense of awareness whether the domain that they're interacting with is legitimate or not somehow tends to fade away, right? Secondly, we saw multi-event domain names. Now this was interesting, where two or more holiday events were combined together to form a single domain name. Now that was interesting because we saw Christmas being blended with Black Friday. There's always Black Friday and Cyber Monday together. So two or three events were named together as a single domain. Now, why that was the thing? So it adds up to the continuity of a particular campaign. So something that starts, for example, at Black Friday can also continue to Christmas, to New Year, or maybe move forward then that to the next holiday. So, and the users who are interacting with this domain might not even suspect, because they think that okay, all of the sales are combined into one single domain, and maybe we can keep visiting it. So again, this was psychological move. uh, I would like to note that that led to criminals or threat actors forming domains like that, and over 100 such domains were noted that were using a multi-event domain name. Secondly, we saw that not only the brands, the retail brands, but also the transaction providers, the payment providers were the prime target, because during holidays there we see a lot of customers who tend to shop online, and along with the brand they also tend to trust the payment provider that they're interacting with. So there's quite a chance that, even let's suppose you come across a typo squatted domain for a particular retail brand, but uh, you might not be as cautious while you're doing a payment to a particular website, and you might just tend to miss out that name. So payment providers were the second most targeted, or second most fish domains, set of fish domains that we found out. So yeah, so it's not just about the brands in this holiday season, but it's also the payment providers who are at a risk. Moving forward, we have a poll, and Andy, I'd like to invite you for this.
Yeah, so thanks, Rishika. So we were doing a quick poll here. I just put an announcement on the screen to ask you to participate in the poll via chat by answering 1, 2, or 3. The poll function on Bright Talk's not cooperating today. So, what is your biggest concern around online holiday retail threats? 1, exploitation of consumer trust in familiar brands. 2, high volume of malicious domains during major shopping events like Cyber Monday. Or 3, threat actors targeting third-party payment providers. Be really curious to see what's keeping people up at night this time of the year. And we will share any results of the poll kind of at the end. We'll let Rishika and Abu carry on with the webinar.
All right, thank you. Okay, so here are some of our key findings. The time frame for this investigation was partly October, partly December, till 2 days ago. But most of the November, we analyzed all the domains that we could gather by doing a keyword search for all the holiday events that are coming up, and we came across 4,000, like more than 4,000 domains, out of which 300 were suspicious, and we could confirm 2,709 domains, and interestingly, out of which over 1,800 domains were registered in 2024 itself. Some of them being registered as in the early 2024 as well. But interestingly, a variety of such domains were parked, and they also used the retailer's name, which I mentioned earlier. And there was overlapping of domains, there were parked domains. Some of the domains that we observed were promoting betting. They were promoting domain abuse by enabling the victims to download a Chrome extension, or maybe they were redirecting to an application that could be malicious in nature. So a lot of domains were created with random alphanumeric characters, and they also used the name of the direct retail giants. Some of them which were prominent that we came across was Walmart, there was Flipkart, Tesla, Apple, there was Lululemon, and more such high value item providers were present. Yeah. So this could eventually, of course, lead to hefty financial losses for customers who are not expecting this. Interestingly, Christmas based domains were huge in number. Not just that, we also saw .christmas as a top level domain being used. So that was one interesting observation we came across. Followed by, we had Black Friday, then there was Cyber Monday, Halloween. So we could see there was a comprehensive campaign laid out across the holiday season that comes out at the end of the year, and they tend to peak, the criminal activities tend to peak at the end of the year, with all the events being consecutive in nature. Moving forward, this was interesting highlight that I would like to bring up. These were the top 20 malicious domain registrars for all the domains that we came across. But out of these top 20, we identified 141 domain registrars, unique domain registrars, and all of the domains which were confirmed malicious for us were spread across these 141 registrars. We also saw that for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, a common electronic items or popular brands were being targeted. And interestingly, we saw how, common consumers were not the only targets for cyber criminals. We also saw that corporate gifting scams was something which was prevalent during Christmas. We also observed delivery related phishing and international malware campaigns that were being promoted. So, all in all, the end of the year or the holiday season fishing campaigns for the retailers were not just focused to one particular region. It was to target global audience. It was by picking up local brands or large retailers, but at the end of the day, it was targeted for global uh, audience as well. Now, this happened because social engineering, obviously, which leads to leverages the human behavior sense of awareness, and that leads to effectiveness of the scam. So, interestingly, yeah, so these were all the domains registrars hosting that was present. Sorry. Before we move to the next part, I would like to provide an analysis of a campaign, which we call as the Alzensep campaign. What happened in this particular campaign was we came across 219 different subdomains, which was a part of main root domain. 291 subdomains. So this root domain was alzinsep.com, and it appeared to be a retail store targeting global customers. And this particular website mentioned that they were based in the US. But interestingly, there were some indicators that was screaming that this particular domain is malicious, right? For example, this website did not have a homepage. They did not have a proper navigations which we see in common retail e-commerce stores, right? They had 291 different subdomains, but the root domain was not functioning properly. They had 291 different instances of products, and there could be more, of course, but during our investigation we came across this. And they were offering early Christmas sale. They were offering early Christmas sale discounts up to 49. So typical keywords which were related to the sale were observed. However, here's where it gets interesting. The website was created 9 months ago in February. And on the top of that, the registrant and the administrative details for this website were belonging from Vietnam. So yeah, there was a Vietnamese registrant operating a website which claims to be a US retail store, and they were promoting different products on their website. Further indicator of maliciousness to us was that this store did not have any review. They did not have any social media presence. They just had like one Facebook account, which was also unverified for that matter. And another indicator was that the logo of this particular store kept changing with every subdomain. Now, there was no consistency, and there was no verification of the product that they were advertising. There were no reviews. So, it is quite possible to claim that they victims who are visiting this website or who are making purchase on this website are falling for a financial fraud. Also, interestingly, the address, the location, and the contact details of this website kept changing with every subdomain. Now, some of these indicators, from a common consumer point of view, not even as a researcher, are essential to note whether you are shopping or if you're seeing a sale which is too good to be true. What indicator should you consider whether before making a purchase or even considering whether this website is legitimate or not? So, this was one elongated or like a campaign with a large number of subdomains that we came across, and that's what I thought of highlighting here. Moving forward.
Thank you so much, Rishika. So, in conclusion, with our presentation and the report, what are some recommendations that we'd like to make for organizations and consumers alike? We will start with the organizations. As we mentioned, this holiday season is more geared towards the consumer, but that doesn't mean that there's no onus on the organization, obviously, to take action on their end as well. So, first and foremost, overall organizational readiness and continuous monitoring is extremely important for an organization that's tracking this kind of activity. Um, for continuous monitoring, using a predictive monitoring method to proactively predict and deter these malicious registrations that we have been tracking, effectively can disrupt and shut them down even before they become an active threat to the organization as well as the consumers. Aside from that, it's really important to build trust and protect your brand reputation during a high risk period in particular. Um, Again, using methods like proactive or predictive monitoring, but also um, consumer awareness will help protect the brand reputation during this time. There are, as we went through, very specific um, tactics that are used by cyber criminals during this season. So holiday awareness programs themed specifically and catered to that to those trends can help identify the spoofed content versus the official communications that come through on official channels. So that kind of awareness for for the customers and consumers of the organization is crucial. Lastly, intelligence sharing between retail organizations um, and researchers and threat intelligence brands or vendors is extremely important. Chances are, and as we noted in the report, and as Rishika spoke uh, at length about the campaigns, chances are that if there's something targeting Walmart, it's very high likelihood that the same threat actor and the same criminal will set up infrastructure against another high priority retail brand. And this is something that we see across the phishing and cybercrime landscape. Is that actors don't just target one organization; they generally have a larger pool, and the consumer obviously is shared between these brands. So it makes it a very attractive target to have attractive for them to have multiple targets. So that intelligence sharing is crucial here because we can proactively work together, and it all goes back to building that awareness for the consumers and doing that monitoring proactively and taking these measures to stop these attacks. Next, we will move on to consumers. So, as consumers, what can we do to be more vigilant during this period? Um, Overall, awareness is extremely important. So, be extremely cautious of slight misspellings, what we call typo squatting. and alter domain names that mimic legitimate brands. If you read the report, there's examples of these that we found, and it's an old tactic, but it works. So it's going to be it's used now, and it's going to be continued to use in the future. So as a consumer, it's extremely important that you build that awareness. And again, with that awareness, avoid clicking on unsolicited emails, SMS alerts offering sales, pop-ups that give you unbelievable deals and giveaways. Generally, if it's too good to be true, you should exercise caution. Um, Cross-check the deals directly on the retailer's official page. As noted in the report, we see many unofficial channels that appear to be promoting an official sale or official Cyber Monday or Black Friday promotion. But if you cross check on the retailer site, chances are you will not find that promotion. And again, it just adds another avenue to check for legitimacy. It's also important to use trusted payment gateways. If you see something suspicious and it's not the typical payment gateway that brand or retailer uses, chances are that there is a high likelihood of fraud. And verify the recipient's information before completing the transaction. So it's extremely important not only to see the gateway, but the recipient, who is receiving these funds. Another common and theme that we saw building up in the report is the use of mobile apps. So mobile apps and downloads prompted by holiday deals and giveaways um, was very interesting because not only do you have the vector of fraud taking place on the transaction, but then you also have this new vector that the criminals have used to create a malicious mobile app. So now you have the payload and potential malware being delivered to your device along with um, the actual transactional fraud that's taking place. So, yeah, hopefully these are helpful tips. And we can move on to questions, Andy.
Yeah, so thanks, guys. This is a great presentation, of course. First of all, I want to let everyone know that a hard copy of the report will be available, or a digital copy, I guess I should say, of the report will be available later on this afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. And so we'll have it posted on our website, so feel free to drop in and pick that up. And now we do have a couple of questions here. How does the timeline of these attacks correlate with domain registration patterns?
I can take that, Rishika. So we saw a strong surge in the domain registrations between the shopping events. Like when Black Friday is taking place, you see a spike in registrations referencing those strings and those giveaways and specific TLDs. Similarly for Cyber Monday, um, same trend that we're seeing. So what we have noticed is that the criminals will register a lot of times these domains in advance as well. So it's not always the surge at the time of the event, but a specific time period before the event takes place. That is to establish some legitimacy and get their investment in early, and then but when they want to weaponize that infrastructure, they will start acting on it later when the actual dates align, and that's a consistent pattern that we see. Um, yeah, so the fake promotions and the ads align very closely with when the events take place, but the actual registration of the infrastructure, we usually see it slightly before the event happens.
Great. And here's one more. Could you provide a little more detail on the patterns overlap, like the domain names for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, for example. I think Rishika, you were talking some about that.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, we saw a bunch of domains that had overlapping events with each other. Like I mentioned while presenting, that this was to provide a longevity to the campaign that we are seeing, and at the same time, this was an attempt to keep everything as generic as possible to avoid detection. For example, if you use a brand's name along with this deal, so it might get detected, right? The website might be taken down as soon as possible. However, if you keep it as generic as possible, people who are interacting with this website, they know that this is about some deal. They know that this is where we can find a good sale or we can make a purchase. But here the cyber criminals can strategically keep changing the content as to evade detection, as to target multiple brands at the same time, and to keep the campaign going on across multiple events. So, serving these three purposes, we saw two or three events being overlapped together in a single domain, and that's how the content kept changing. So some of the websites were not even active when we came across it. However, we hope that when it's right about Christmas, it might get active again. So, and it would also be active during Black Friday. So these are some strategies that were deployed by threat actors, and thus this new trend we saw of overlapping events.
Great, thank you. And here's the last question. How do major brands like Walmart or Tesla mitigate brand impersonation risks? What steps can they take?
Abu, maybe you can take this
Yeah,
one.
yeah, sure. So we touched on it a little bit earlier, but as organizations, uh, I think a very strong direction that major brands, and we see this obviously coming as a trend, is right now the brand impersonations. The response to them is very reactive, right? We see that a false promotion is up, one of our consumers reports it, one of our customers reports it, and then we initiate mitigation actions. A stronger approach would be to proactively predict um, the abuse and deter it. Um, and what that does is it changes us from a reactive model to a very proactive model, and it helps us mitigate tho- those um, those brand impersonation attacks. Before they actually become a risk for our clients. And I think that this approach um, would help immensely in reducing the amount of fraud and attempts to target not only the organization but the consumer as well. Um, yeah, so I think that aside from the overall organizational readiness and consumer awareness campaigns, this is probably a strong direction that retail brands can focus to proactively mitigate the fraud.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Abu and Rishika, for a great rundown on the holiday retail threat landscape. Thank you to everyone who attended this webinar. Happy holidays to you and your families. See you next year, and come see us again in January. We're going to be talking a lot about travel and hospitality industries and some of the threats that people are encountering as they start planning their summer vacations and spring breaks. So looking forward to seeing you all in January. Thank you for your attendance and talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.